I'm Robin Truslow, public relations coordinator for Calvert Library, and one of the hats I wear is adult programming. And this idea came from a number of different avenues at one time. And so one was an occupational therapist describing the experience that she had that she inspired her to want to give back to the community in the form of education. And she's going to be presenting October. Thank you. October 17th. So I'd encourage you to come for that event. At that event, you'll hear about some exercises, strategies, ways to basically improve your driver response time, etc. So yeah, I encourage you. And Frank Carson came to us with an idea to present the session that you were expecting today. So I will warn you, we are recording this because I had several people say, "Oh, are you recording this?" So I am recording it. Um, so maybe don't say your name if you like ask a question that might incriminate you, right? But when I say recording, it's just the sound and the screen. So if you don't come up here and stand right here, you're probably safe from camera. But yeah, so I'm going to turn it over actually, I'm going to have Jessica come up first. So Jessica Gaetano is on the Maryland Highway, Calvert. She's going to tell you where she's from. But this is another part of we should do this here. So I'm going to turn it over to Jessica.
Hi there, I'm Jessica Gaetano. I am a planner with Calvert County Planning and Zoning. In 2023, Calvert County adopted the Calvert County Strategic Roadway Safety Plan. Essentially, it's in support of the Maryland Strategic Roadway Safety Plan. And so we put together a steering committee, essentially, that we meet quarterly. It's law enforcement, engineers, school system, bus drivers, all these different systems to really try to tackle a safe system approach on the roadway from all different angles, highway maintenance. And so we just try to come together, and I'm really here. I didn't expect to speak, sorry. Just to be a fly on the wall, listen to your concerns, and bring it back to the committee when we speak again.
So lots of good people in the room. So our first speaker today and the primary speaker is Frank Carson, who was a sworn officer with 35 years of experience. He was in the collision analysis unit for 25 years, during which time he investigated fatal and critical injury cases, taught crash reconstruction classes, as well as traffic enforcement and DUI detection and enforcement. So he's got a little bit of experience. I think he'll be able to answer a lot of questions. I asked him a couple questions today of things that are burning questions for me, like what's the rule when he promised me he's going to get to those. And he knew the answers right off the bat. So I think he's going to be fine. After he speaks, we're going to have Brian Rains, who is a cycling expert, who's going to talk about some of the vulnerable people that are on our roads today and how, and maybe explain a little bit about the things they do that we're like, what's that about? So we're going to learn a lot today, I think. But I'm going to turn it over to Frank.
Hi. Oh, please, please, please. I'm not that important. Okay, a couple of things. You noticed when the other people were talking, I hate these things, but I know I have to use it. Let me set it down for just a second. I'll talk loudly next to it. Maybe. Rolls off the mic. I was walking around like this. Did people notice that? Find it distracting? We'll talk about that. I named this is a rendition of one that I did at NASA, a traffic safety thing I did for NASA for a couple of years. The engineers loved it because I brought my slide rule with me because they love that. It's called Ants Never Crash, and it's from a book. Even when you're kids, did you watch ants crawling around? Do they ever run into each other? No, because there's order in their universe. And that comes out of this book, which you'll see again. Fantastic book. Amazon, like $3-5. Get it. It's good. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Does this pointy clicky thing work? Oh, awesome. So, or does it? No, I want to change slides. Not yet. Horrible. Oh, it's a bad picture of me. How did I get up there? You want to try my pointy clicky thing? I brought my own. I come fully equipped. Okay. Oh, it is working. Maybe I have to point, maybe I have to just point it over there. Because when I work with usually.
Brian says he'll be-
Yeah, okay.
I'll be the pointy.
So he's gonna be my pointy click, well, the clicky thing, the pointy thing I think works. Yeah, it works. Okay, let's try again. We already talked about this. This is me, 35 years sworn police officer in Prince George's County. August 1st, 1988, when I started. I retired February 1st, 2023. And then they foolishly hired me back as a civilian crime scene investigator. So I'm doing that now. And I've also done reconstructions there. Did 25 years in the collision analysis reconstruction unit, fatal crashes, critical injury crashes. I've done well over 300 of those in my career. Enforced traffic laws, commercial vehicle laws, crawled under trucks and everything. Taught traffic safety classes, traffic law, and taught lots of reconstruction classes. Lots of reconstruction classes. When hit escape. That's me. That's me underneath the truck. That's some of the brake force calculations we do in commercial motor vehicle reconstruction class. We could talk about that if you want. That's me at the scene of a pedestrian crash. And that's me talking at NASA. Exciting, isn't it? When. So I pulled these Calvert County crash statistics right from the Maryland Highway Safety Office website. If you have anything you want to know about crashes in Calvert County and everything, Maryland Highway Safety Office website's got it. You can use it. This is where I get the stuff. Just go on Google or Bing or whatever you use and type in Maryland Highway Safety Office. They have a wealth of information about all kinds of, shameless plug, a wealth of information about all kinds of things, child safety seats, programs, and please look at it. So fatal crashes in Calvert County, 10 in 2023. We had injury crashes, 285, property damage crashes, 739. We won't go into definitions. We can if we had more time, but we were not going to go into definitions. Total people killed, 10. You can have more people killed in a car crash than just one person because there are multiple people in a car. And total injured, 395. My employer right now in Prince George's County, give you a little comparison, 2023, 129 fatal crashes, statewide 577, 3,943 injury crashes. This is Prince George's County alone, 15,383 property damage crashes, 123 people killed, and 5,931 people injured. It's a lot of people. One person is a lot of people to get killed. Don't get me wrong. It's a lot of people. That's why we were very busy. Now, what we want to do is we want to talk about how to bring even to nothing. Because one of the things that they have is the towards zero deaths. I think that it started with Vision Zero, now it's towards zero deaths, right? Which is the goal. We don't want anybody killed or injured in our highway. So we're going to talk about that. That's the main focus here. And what you can do to keep yourself safe on the road and to keep other people safe on the road. Okay? I love saying that. So everyone's goal when they drive is to get from point A from point A to point B, right? We want to get where we're going as quickly as we can, legally, and as safely as we can, right? So we're all out there. We're like the ants. We all have the same goal. So this is a fatal crash I handled because it involved a county vehicle on the Capitol Beltway in 2007. Yes, I was one of those people. I shut down the Capitol Beltway southbound for 5 hours and the northbound side for 3 hours. I made a lot of friends that day. It all starts before you leave your house. It starts with your car. This cocoon we all strap onto our backs to drive. That's where it starts. So little things that you can do aside from getting your door right. Keep your window. Can you see? You have to be able to see to drive. That's the theory, at least. So wipe the dead bugs off your windshield. No, not yet. Hit the, you should be able to operate actually with just the arrows. There you go. All the things people hang from their rear view mirrors, the accoutrements, get rid of those. Because that's a whole area there that you can't see. You're blinded there. Tinted windows. Oh my heavens, tinted windows. Tinted windshields are flat out illegal in the state of Maryland, period, end of sentence. Except for that 5 inches at the top, period, end of sentence. Okay? This one, we've all seen it. Okay, just enough so I can see. As a police officer, I did this once. I pulled someone over to it, and I got my scraper thing out there. I cleaned off their windshield for them and gave them the scraper. Clean your cars off. Clean the roof off because you don't want to come in hitting you. Give you a hint. If you go out there while you're kind of scraping the windshield a little bit and run your car with heat high, it's going to do most of the work for you. Then it'll just slide off when you push it. When tint in the state of Maryland. You can have tint. It has to do at least, the state of Maryland, 70% transmission. This gives you an idea. This is 5% transmission of light. And then it gets worse. Well, it's worse going that way. And at night, hideous. One of the unmarked cars they gave me, they tinted the windows. It was a Tahoe. Oh my goodness, when I backed into my driveway at night, I had to roll down the window because I couldn't see anything through the side view mirrors. So stay away from the tint, okay? Next. I'm sorry, when. I was supposed to say when, not next. Your lights should all work. There's a reason we have lights on our cars. So you can see when we're slowing down and stopping. And there's the reason there's 2. Why do we have 2 brake lights? What's that? In case one goes out. That's why we have 2, but they both have to be working. Headlights, same thing. You have to have 2 working. Important reason, once you can see, and by the way, drive with your high beams on until you can't. Makes sense? Have your high beams on. You know, cars approach, you have to dim them, but when you can, have your high beams on because you can see more. There are a couple of reasons why you have 2 headlights. One is to see, but also so people can see you better. Oh, you look perfect. Stand up, second row back. Yeah, you're perfect. And I've been told you're perfect. So stand there. How did you know I was coming towards you?
Because I saw you walking towards me.
Keep going.
I have eyes
Okay. How tall am I now?
like 5'8".
Yeah, close enough. Okay. If I asked you that now, what would you say? 5'8". But you already know that. If you didn't know that, do I look as tall as I am standing right in front of you? Why? I'm farther away. You can sit back down. Now, let's give him a hand. He did a great job. We judge how fast things are approaching us, or even if they're approaching us, because when they're far away, they're small. As they get closer, they get bigger. Headlights, the farther away they are, they look closer together. The closer they get to you, the bigger they get. That's how, this is an amazing thing that we can do. You ready to catch this? You ready? Oh my gosh, how did you do that? How did you do that? How? Oh my gosh. You were prepared, but how did you know when to put your hands together, where to put your hands when I threw this? Reflexes. It's even simpler than that. Because my goodness, you know physics. We all innately know physics. We do. We know that if I toss this ball to you, you know how to catch it, right? And even when I took you by surprise, you still caught it because we know physics. And we can judge when things are getting closer together, closer to us and farther away, and how fast they're going. Here's the problem, though. We're kind of crappy at it when it comes to cars. We really are. And that we'll talk about that in a minute. So I could go on for hours about human factors. I don't have that much time. So anyway, make sure everything's working. Your turn signals, your marker lights, make sure everything's working because the marker lights, the side lights, let people know how far away you are. And it also lets them know where the edges of your vehicle are, how big your car is. Who's been driving down the road and they see one headlight, think, oh, it's a motorcycle. And it ends up it's not a motorcycle. It's a car. We used to call them Popeyes. It has one headlight out. So make sure all the lights are working. Next, sorry. When? Oh my gosh, tires. Okay, shocking news. Bald tires work just fine on dry asphalt. They really do. Who's a NASCAR fan? Formula One. Do they put treads on their tires? Oh, heavens no. Because it is fine on dry asphalt. On wet asphalt, don't want to see any hands. Who's driven crappy tires on wet roads? Need I say more? Okay? Make sure they're inflated right and all that kind of stuff so you can stay on the road. The only thing that's keeping you on the road when you're going around curves and all that kind of stuff is a patch of tire on each wheel that's about as big as your hand. That's the only external unbalanced force, according to Newton, that's keeping you in your curve and everything. Okay? Make sure your tires are good. Make sure they're inflated. Next, I'm sorry, when. Most important part of your trip is, however, the driver. So let's talk about you as a driver. When. How do you feel when you drive? Tired, sick, angry, impaired, medicated? When you are tired, you don't concentrate well. Being sleep deprived is like having a BAC of about 0.10, blood alcohol level about 0.10. What's the legal limit in the state of Maryland? 0.08. The per se limit's 0.08. We can go in. But anyway, it's like 0.10. And the way they do that is they do it in tests. They impair people, put them in a driving simulator, see how many mistakes they make, and they make people stay up. They do the same thing, compare the mistake rate. And that's how you come up with an approximation. The problem with being tired while you're driving is when your brain wants to sleep, it's going to sleep. Whether it's little micro sleeps, whether it's actually falling asleep and waking up when you drive off the road and hit the gravel or the rumble strips, your brain's going to sleep. I don't want to see a show of hands. How many of you have worked like night shifts? Okay, put your hands back down. How many of you have worked night shifts or just have been tired, get home and don't remember about half of the drive? Thank goodness your cars knew the way home, right? Please don't drive tired. We investigate. I can never say exactly yes or no, but investigate enough single vehicle crashes run off the road and the angle of departure and everything, they probably fell asleep. So don't do that. When sick, see tired. Because when you're sick, when you got a cold or flu or something like that, you're tired, you're worn out, you don't want to concentrate, you can't concentrate, right? And sick always follows tired, right? When angry. What movie is that from? Yeah, the hint is there's a groundhog there. Groundhog Day. Don't drive angry. Hard to do sometimes. Don't drive angry. Don't listen to incendiary things on your radio that make you angry. Okay, what's our goal in driving? It's to get from point A to point B safely. When impaired. I locked up a lot of drunk drivers. Glad I did. Love doing it. Investigate. In Prince George's County, I'm not disparaging Prince George's County, it's just the fact. Prince George's County, about 52% of our fatal crashes involve drugs or alcohol on the part of one of the drivers or the pedestrian. You know what the national average is? Yeah, about 36% from year to year. Okay. I have no tolerance for drunk drivers. No compassion for impaired drivers. I have no compassion for them. If I test you, I think you're impaired, and I have the evidence because again, a whole nother class. I'm going to lock you up, or always going to lock you up. I locked up a Fairfax County police officer. I'd say a curse word, him, but this is a family thing. So don't drink and drive. Here's one of the problems about drinking and driving. How do I say this gently? Nobody deserves to die, right? Nobody deserves to be killed. Drunk driving crashes truly crashes with very innocent victims. The reason I say that is the majority of homicides, there is a relationship there. They know each other somehow. Very few homicides are random events. It does happen, don't get me wrong. Drunk driving, the person driving drunk and the person they kill do not know each other. Now you think about this for a minute. Next time you have a drink or two, decide I'm okay to drive, or you smoke cannabis, which is now legal, and you decide to drive. Your family could be driving to the park to play on the swing set, and a drunk driver crossed the yellow line and kill all of you. The only thing you're doing is going to the park. Okay? Think about that. Need I say more? When? This is the tolerances worldwide for alcohol. Bangladesh, you have to have less than 0% alcohol in your system. Okay? And the United States, and the United States has the highest level of legal impairment in the world. There is good research, and I suspect in the next 8-10 years, the impairment level is going to drop to about 0.05 in the United States because there's good research. So impairment starts as low as 0.02. And that's fine with me. Not that there's impairment, that they're going to lower it, lock people up. So it just gives you an idea. I was listening to a podcast, a retired officer. He was talking, good guy. He went to Ireland, where his family is from, visiting with a friend. And his friend went to the pub and had ordered half a pint. And his friend, the retired cop, said to his friend, "Why are you just having half a pint of Guinness? Well, I got to drive home." Okay. No, you don't understand. If they stop me, they'll take my truck away and they'll put me in jail. I need that for work. And in Ireland, they don't need probable cause to pull you over for drunk driving. They see you on the road at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to stop you, see if you're drunk. In this country, you need probable cause. So, yeah, a lot of countries are harsher than we are. And with cannabis now, what do you think? You get out of your car, and you walk past someone who just got out of their car and they reek of alcohol. What do you think? Impaired? What about when you pull in the 7-Eleven and the car door next to you opens up and you smell pot coming out? Yeah. I was a drug recognition expert for 6 years. Marijuana, cannabis will impair you just as well as alcohol. When there's approximate blood alcohol content in 1 hour approximation. So if you weigh 160 pounds and you have one drink within an hour, you could possibly be influenced, under the influence. Depending on how you see, you don't have to be a 0.08 to be arrested. You can be a 0.03 and be arrested if you're a lightweight and you don't drink, and you can still be impaired. Again, it's like a couple hour long class, but with probable cause, I can charge you with impaired driving being a 0.03. Or I could. I can't now, but when acetaminophen PM helps you sleep. You know what helps you sleep? It has Benadryl in it. That's what helps you sleep. You can be charged with drive while under the influence of drugs, drive under the influence of this stuff. When Claritin, the big advertising thing was non-drowsy. Yeah. Read the fine print. It says non-drowsy. When taken as directed, see drug facts panel. When using this product, do not take more than directed. Taking more than directed may cause drowsiness. In 7% of the people who take Claritin, it causes drowsiness. So it's not a no drowsy formula. So when you get a prescription medication or another medication that says don't operate heavy machinery, it doesn't mean like steamrollers or things like that. Okay? When the Oxycontin bottle says don't drive. It's as simple as that. When before you pull from your driveway, now we know you've slept enough, you're not sick, you're not medicated in the wrong way, you're not angry, you're getting ready to leave. Your windshields are clean, windshield wipers work, lights are good, we're good to go. Before you pull from the driveway, put on your damn seatbelt. Doesn't take much time at all. Get in the car, put on the seatbelt. Everybody gets in the car, everybody puts on their seatbelt. My daughter, much younger, would get in the car seat, and I'm in the garage. And we taught, put on your seatbelt, put on your seatbelt. I put it in reverse start back. My seatbelt's not on. Oh, sorry. Okay, put it in park. So train them early, and they'll do it. There's no downside to wearing a seatbelt. There's not. I would teach young officers, and we would see them not wearing the seatbelts. Why aren't you wearing the seatbelts? Well, if I got to go catch the bad guy, I don't have time to take my seatbelt off. Let me tell you, young one, when I started this job, before I got out of the car to chase the bad guys, I had to do several things. I had to put it in park, put my seatbelt off, put it in park, turn it off because you don't want the bad guy coming and taking your car. So put it in park, turn it off, grab the key, pop my radio out of the charger, put it on. It was night, grab my flashlight, grab my nightstick, go catch the bad guy. These days, new police officers, they have the radio on their belt, they have the aspeton, they have the flashlight. All they have to do is put it in park, take the key out, take the seatbelt off. All the stuff we had to do, we still caught bad guys. And I hammer that into officers all the time. Wear your damn seatbelt. I know this is the cliche. I've never cut, a dead man out of a seatbelt, crashes. Well, it happens sometimes, but if sometimes it wouldn't have helped anyway. Side impact, seatbelt's not going to help you anyway. Wear your seatbelts. There's no downside to it, right? And kids in car seats, please put your kids in car seats. And we're going to next or when Maryland transportation articles. This is what says what you can and can't do in the state of Maryland when you're driving. This is an equipment violation, actually. Person may not operate a motor vehicle unless the person and each occupant under 16 years old are restrained by a seatbelt or a child safety seat as provided in 22412.2 of this article. Unless the person who's 16 years of age or older is restrained by a seatbelt, they cannot be the outboard front seat passenger in a vehicle. Front seat passenger has to wear a seatbelt. Comes down to. A person transporting a child under the age of 8 in a motor vehicle shall secure, it doesn't say may, it says shall. May means it's optional. Shall says it's not optional. Shall secure the child safety seat or a booster seat in accordance with child safety seat and vehicle manufacturer's instructions, unless the child's 4'9" tall. I will caveat that by saying you put them in a booster seat. If the seatbelt comes across their neck and goes down, yeah, back in the car seat. I've seen what happens when a seatbelt cuts through someone's neck. It's never pretty. NHTSA says 12 years old to sit in the front seat. Okay. But it's seatbelt dependent as well. Same thing with the booster seat. If they're, outgrown a car seat and they're in a booster seat, they have to wear the booster seat until the seatbelt comes the way it should, over the shoulder and down. My oldest was thrilled when she turned 12, got to sit in the front seat, did it twice, and then decided she liked the back seat, so that's fine. When airbags, they work with the seatbelt system. Go back to where I said, wear your seatbelt. They're designed to work together. They're not nearly as effective by themselves. Sometimes with the newer seatbelt and airbag control modules, which again, another couple hour long class, if you're not wearing a seatbelt, it's not going to fire. Airbag's not going to go off because the little algorithm decides, it's probably better if the airbag doesn't go off because they're not wearing a seatbelt. Again, another couple hour long class to explain all that. When this is a town and country minivan. This crash happened at 231 and Skipjack Road. Had the traffic light there. What happened was this car was pulling out Skipjack Road, had a green light, was making a left-hand turn, come to Prince Frederick. And the dump truck, which you can see the damage there, was going too fast, didn't stop, and essentially ran over the front end of that vehicle. All the airbags, we say all the airbags popped. All the airbags went off. Car's totaled, but what did the car do? Did its job, did what it's designed for. You know what happened to the person driving that vehicle? You asked, she's sitting right there. It's my wife. Yeah. Seat bags work. Airbags work, seat belts work. Wear them, please. I actually use that as a project in one of my reconstruction classes. No. When driving distractions, other things, remember this? When I'm throwing this back and forth, distracting people, yeah, we see shiny things. We like to look at them. We're going to talk about these individually. Cell phones, headphones, other distractions. We're going to talk about rules of the road and courtesy. When cellular phone, I used to sell those ones on the left at Radio Shack. That was the inventor of the cell phone, first cell phone. Of course, alphanumeric pagers. They're all distractions. Even hands-free. And folks, driving down the road, holding your phone up and talking in the speakerphone is not hands-free. Driving, sitting with it on your knee or on that's hands-free. All right. Maryland law is very specific about such things. When an individual may not use a text messaging device to write, send, or read a text message or an electronic message while operating a motor vehicle in the travel portion of the roadway, not included GPS systems, or to contact 911. A driver motor vehicle that is in motion may not use the driver's hands to use a handheld telephone other than to initiate or terminate a wireless telephone call or to turn on or off the handheld telephone. Is that unambiguous? Yeah, pretty much. You can't hold the cell phone and talk in it. Now, again, whole other class, actually hands-free is not much better. And actually hands-free is much worse, much worse than actually having someone talking to them in the seat next to you. Again, another hour-long class. Just, you're gonna have to take my word on this one. When headphones, Maryland Transportation Article say a person may not drive a motor vehicle on any highway or on any private property that is used in the public in general in this state while the person is wearing over or in both ears headsets or earphones. So that one on the left is good. Nope, can't use those. Now, the earbuds, one's hanging out of you're good. You can't wear two headphones. One of the things, it doesn't allow you to hear things like, I don't know, sirens, weird things like that. Okay, you can't do it. And we would ticket people for it. When distracted driving is any activity that could divert a person's attention away from the primary task of driving. And we'll talk about this in a minute. Your job when you're in that car, when you're driving, your job is to drive. That's your job. You signed up for it. You got that license. You got behind the wheel. You started. You pulled out of your driveway. That's your job. A lot of times you're not getting paid for it. Some people are. They're called professional drivers. The average time that your eyes are off the road when you're texting is 5 seconds. At 60 miles an hour, we can do the math. That's for later. You're going 88 feet per second. In 5 seconds, you go over 440 feet. I want you to do something for me. Everybody, unless you're scared of the dark, close your eyes till I tell you to open them. You ready? Close your eyes. Open your eyes. Okay, this is your homework project. On the way home, close your eyes for 5 seconds while you're driving. Okay, don't do that. But that's 5 seconds. Now, can you imagine driving for 5 seconds with your eyes closed on purpose? That's what you're doing when you're looking down. Your eyes aren't on the road. Okay. 3 times the amount of risk crash increase while you're reaching for your phone, looking up a contact, or dialing a number. It's just, what do we learn about physics? You know physics. Who's an original Star Trek fan? Okay, my people. Famous line from Scotty, the engineer: I can't change the laws of physics. That is from the episode called, come on, anybody? Oh, I'm so disappointed. The Naked Time. And what happened in that episode? Spock and Scotty figured out a way to cold start a warp engine, because you have to mix matter and antimatter after having heated it. You can't cold start a warp engine, but they figured out how to. Okay. You don't care. When these are all distractions. Sorry. I don't like eating while I'm driving. Do I like eating while I'm driving? No. Putting on lipstick, makeup, brushing your hair, combing your hair, texting, writing notes. Yeah. Watching movies and videos. Yeah. When distracted driving, sometimes there's a perfectly legitimate excuse for it. There's a picture that went around the Reconstruction community. This person had their car with the airbag in the driver's seat and put sequins and everything on it. Who in here knows what a claymore mine is? Shaped charge explodes, sends like shrapnel and everything out towards the enemy. And the little thing says, wow, you just turned your steering wheel and airbag into a claymore mine. Yeah, don't do that. Nothing should go over that airbag, including your feet when you're the passenger. Again, another class. So you get to tell mom you only look down for a second. Here's the thing. I handled well over 300 fatal crashes. Some of the next of kin notifications were made at the hospital by the doctors. I just conservatively did about 250 next of kin notifications. So I ruin someone's day and tell them your mother, father, sister, brother, cousin, nephew, whatever, is dead. And it goes something like this. You're a good one. I'll use you. 2 o'clock in the morning, knock, knock, knock. You come to the door and just go with this, okay? Hi, does Joe Smith live here? Okay, but he does live here. Okay, and who are you? Gabe, are you his brother? Okay, are parents home? Okay, can I come in? Okay, let me get your name and your phone, and I'll just bring you to that. Okay, this is the deal. I'm investigating a car crash, and you said he lives here, right? Okay, I'm investigating a car crash. What happened was on Route 231, he was going westbound on Route 231 near College Station Drive, near the college. And a person coming the other way crossed the WL line and hit him head on. And unfortunately, your brother was killed in the crash. That's a death notification. Okay? How'd that make you feel? Yeah. Now imagine, you have somebody, the yelling and screaming and crying and everything. I have just ruined someone's day because someone was stupid while they were driving. Something else for you to think about. When fatigue, when the brain needs sleep, it's going to sleep. We already talked about that. It's called reinforcement. When lack of sleep mimics blood alcohol concentrate, 24 hours without sleep, 0.10, and 21 hours, 0.08, 18 hours, 0.05. Even 18 hours without sleep is about 0.05. Okay. Okay, now let's talk about how we're supposed to drive. How should we drive to make things better for people, for all of us? Because we want to get where from point A to point B. Now, everyone's been through driver's ed, right? You've been taught the rules of the road. Police officers are kind of like referees. We throw down the flags. And we're not here to discuss police procedures or traffic stop procedure. That's just the reality of it. We throw down the flags. You go to court. Judge does what the judge does. Move up one. This is a new part of it. Okay, go back. Make sure I'm on track. Okay. When speed limits on roads are established through both legislation and engineering. Legislation sets the speed limit based on recommendation by the roadway engineers. Engineering establishes safe speeds based upon roadway design. People who live in this area drive the roads all the time. You familiar with the phrase, familiarity breeds contempt? Yeah, the speed limit on Barstow Road may say 35, but I can do it at 52 without a problem. Most of the time, maybe without a problem. But all you need is one problem. How many people have been in a crash, minor, maybe disabling of the car? It's a pain in the neck, isn't it? Literally and figuratively. If your car is damaged, can't drive it, got to get it towed, got to get repaired, got to get a rental insurance company. It's like, this is what I tell my new drivers. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. And we're going to talk about not worth it in a minute. Okay? Oh, when? Sorry. Right of way. This is where we're going to start talking about some of the things you want to talk about. Stop signs. State of Maryland says when you come to a stop sign, you have to come to a full and complete stop, which is the full cessation of forward movement. Stop. Look. Clear the road. Make sure it's safe to turn. Don't think you can make it. Know you can make it. So if you take, okay, yeah, I'm going to let this car go. That's fine. Let the car go by. Let the car go by. Let the 3 cars go by. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal because you want to get from point A to point B. So the sign says stop. You do what? You stop. It's simple. Yield signs. When the sign says yield, you yield to traffic on the through roadway. You don't race them. You also don't necessarily, yeah, sometimes you do have to stop if the traffic is busy on a yield, but you don't have to. The idea of yield is you get up to speed and you merge in with traffic, but you yield. Now, if you look at the statistics, Maryland Highway Safety Office, it says that aggressive driving is the #1 cause of traffic crashes in the state of Maryland. I would proffer that aggressive driving is actually a contributing factor to a crash because The primary cause of the crash is whatever traffic law was violated. So if the aggressive drive, if you're driving too fast and you go around the curve and lose control, going around the curve too fast is a contributing factor to you leaving the roadway. Kind of see where I'm going? And we're going to talk about aggressive driving too. But aggressive driving, don't drive angry. Leave plenty of time. And if you're going to be late, you're going to be late. Traffic signals. If the light is red, what do? You stop. See, it's simple. You stop. And if it says right turn on red, what do you do before you make the right turn? You stop, because they don't have enough space on the sign to say right turn on red after stop in most cases. So you stop and you yield right of way. And if the sign up there says no right turn on red signal, what do? Wait for the light to turn green. Again, these are the rules of the road that you follow that are there to keep everybody safe. Let everyone go from point A to, everybody say it, point B safely. Parking lots. Oh, head on a swivel in parking lots. Let me tell you, head on a swivel in parking lots. Because people cut across parking bays, they do pull-throughs and everything, which aren't too bad. They do pull-throughs, all kinds of stuff like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but everybody's car has a turn signal, right? Okay, just making sure. And you have plenty of turn signal fluid in it, right? Okay. Use your turn signals in parking lots. Pretty cool, huh? They're there, they work. And they're standard equipment, by the way. I've checked all makes, models, they're all standard equipment. Okay. Pedestrians. Okay, here we go. Pedestrians actually do not always have the right of way. That does not mean you can run over pedestrians with reckless abandon. Don't get me wrong. Pedestrians are required to follow a certain orderly manner. They're supposed to cross at crosswalks, at intersections. If it's an intersection with a pedestrian signal or signalized intersection, they're supposed to obey the pedestrian signals. So in my reconstructions, if a pedestrian is crossing the road in a crosswalk, but is crossing against the pedestrian signal, they are at fault in the crash. I tell you right now, last time I did all the statistics, like 12-year statistics, 98.78% of our pedestrian crashes were the pedestrian's fault. Now, with that said, stop for pedestrians, okay? And, if you're a pedestrian, I tell people all this time, and pun intended. Okay, pedestrians always have the right of way. Okay, is that the hill that you want to die on? Yeah, because you weigh 160, 200 pounds. That car weighs about 3,500 pounds. You know who's going to win, right? Okay, but watch out for pedestrians. And if you are a pedestrian, please, especially at night, do not play the invisible pedestrian by wearing all dark clothing. Okay, don't keep the drivers guessing. Again, whole day class on conspicuity and everything. And that may look light colored here. It's not at night. Your red shirt may look bright during the day. It's not at night. That's better. That's better. What's really good is retroreflective, like we used to call Scotch Brite. That's the bomb, because people will see that. And carrying a flashlight or something that bounces, people's attention are drawn to what's called biomotion. They'll see that better. They'll see that a couple thousand feet away. And what do people do when they're driving? They see something in the distance. They're not sure what it is. What do most people do? Slow down. Yeah, they slow down. So you want to draw attention to yourself. And you can go up to the Walmart and find it. There's a Halloween costume, all black with red eyes. It's the invisible pedestrian costume. I took a picture of it, sent it to some of my reconstruction friends. Okay. When do you use them? Whenever you can. You're never going to go wrong using a turn signal. You really won't. And when should you use them? All the time. Aggressive driving. What is aggressive driving legally? This is why it can be difficult to write a ticket for aggressive driving. Because this is what the law says, and this is what, as police officers, you have to adhere to. You have to commit at least 3 of the following offenses violated in a continuous period of time. So they can't violate a traffic signal with steady indication and 5 miles later be speeding. Has to be continuous, one continuous time. So they have to do 3 of these. violate a traffic signal, overtake, improperly pass another vehicle, pass on right when not permitted. We'll talk about that. Improperly drive on a lane roadway. That's a big transportation article. Follow too closely, fail to yield the right of way, exceed the posted speed limit. I have to have 3 of those in continuous time for it to be aggressive driving. Okay? This was one of the questions you asked me. When is it permissible to pass on the right? So you got, and I use 231 because that's, I think most people have driven on it. 1 lane in either direction, got a white line there, and people stop, make a left-hand turn, and people cross the white line and go around them. That's technically illegal because the law says that you may not pass a vehicle on the right while leaving the roadway. And that white line is the edge of the roadway. The end of the pavement and the gravel is the edge of the roadway. So legally, you can't go around them. Do people do it? Yes. The suggestions I'm not telling you to break the law, but the suggestion I will make, if you're going to do that, use your what? Turn signal. And I'm sure we all probably had this situation. You're driving, la, 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 and the car in front of you suddenly hits the brakes and goes over to the right because there's a car stop making a left-hand turn. That's why I say if you're going to do that, at least put on your turn signal. Okay? All right. We talked, and we're going to talk about the other one you asked me. We're going to get there. Okay? Aggressive driving next, or when? Driving on lane roadways, lane markings, inclement weather, unmarked pavement. Pay attention to lane markings. WLI means what? Don't pass. A dot, a dashed line, and a solid line means if you're on the side of the dashed line, you can pass. But you can't on the other side. But doesn't mean you can't come back into your lane. It just means the other people can't. Can't pass on a hill crest, all kinds of different things. But look at the lane markings. We all know what they mean, right? We've all been through driver's ed or been in car line. We know what it means. Let's follow these lane markings. Now, to address what you were going to talk about, what you want me to talk about. In the cheap seats, can you see? If you can stand up. I like that sound. Sounds like Halloween. So the question you asked was, let's see, and this is roadway, okay? It's the roadway, and let's say this is, yeah, it's terrible drawing, but just help me on this one. This is Route 4. You're at a turnaround, okay? Here's car 1. Here's car 2. They both want to do a turnaround. The proper way to do it is this car comes all the way over here and stops. This car comes all the way over here and stops. That's so this person is here, can see the traffic. Yeah. Pisses you off, doesn't it? I'm sorry, irritates you to no end, doesn't it? Yes. And you know what happens if you do that when someone's over there? You get them, oh, they get so, they'll blow their horn at you and everything, and they'll wave at you with just, one finger. But that's the proper way to, what you do at intersections like this or any intersection, imagine a dot in the center of the intersection. You should go on the other side of the dot. That's actually in Maryland Transportation Articles court decision. Yeah. Yeah, I was bored sometimes. I'd read court decisions. Actually, it's part of my job. I'm going to say bored. I would read those things. Inclement weather. Should we drive the same way in snow as we do on dry pavement? No. The speed limit is the upper speed limit for the roadway when it is in what kind of condition? Perfect condition. Other than that, you should be going slower. Everybody who drives faster than the speed limit is an idiot. Everybody who drives slower is a. That's just what everybody says. Right? So you should slow down in bad weather. Increase your following distance. 60 miles an hour, you're going 88 feet per second. The average perception response time for a driver, if I won't pick on you anymore. I'll pick on you. If you are driving, okay, and there's some emergency in front of you, the average driver from the time they perceive that emergency, and everybody basically goes through these steps, perceives the emergency, identifies what it is, decides what to do, and actually implements that is about 1.4, 1.5 seconds. 60 miles an hour, you've gone, let's see, 88 feet per second plus 44 feet, what, 120 some feet already before you've even done anything. That's on a bright, sunny, well-lit roadway, dry conditions and everything. If you make it rainy and at night, it goes up to about 3.5 seconds. Can't change the laws of physics. Now, the younger drivers have that whole, young, fast reflexes and everything. And empirically, people who have more driving experience empirically wipe out that advantage, because what do we have who have more driving experience? We have experience. We've probably been in a situation before. We know better how to react. It's not new to us. But essentially, the rule of thumb is unless you have at least 1.3 seconds to perceive and react, something crash is going to happen. That's pretty much it. Scary, isn't it? A lot can happen in 1.5 seconds. A lot. Unmarked pavement, unless it's one way, marked one way, unmarked pavement, we each get half of the roadway, not the center half. Okay? Stay on your side of the road. One lane in either direction. Now, if that roadway is unmarked but wide enough for cars going in each direction to ride to a side, they actually can. I wouldn't recommend it because people like lines. Okay. Unmarked roadways, pavement. How about if you, when you're leaving your driveway, is there a stop sign there? Most of us do not have stop signs at the driveway at our houses. What are we supposed to do then? Stop. Why? You don't hit the kid. Yeah. And the Maryland Transportation article is very explicit. When entering a highway or roadway from a driveway or other entry point, you must stop. Come to a complete stop. It's pretty explicit. When these are Frank's road rules. I came up with these over the years. Okay. Now, this is something when I'm teaching my my progeny to drive, we had this little routine we did, and it kind of fades off as I drive more, but we sit in the car and I say, how are you going to drive for yourself? I'm going to drive defensively. What does that mean? We talk about what that means. How are you going to drive for other people? I'm going to be predictable. What does that mean? You need to use turn signals. Don't sneak up on stop signs. Come to a slow, full and complete stop so people behind you realizing, okay, you're stopping. Makes sense? If you pull up to a traffic signal and you're going to make a right-hand turn, you're in the right-hand, one of those ones that has, you can eat from the through lane, you can turn right, left, whatever. If you're going to turn right, cock your wheels to the right and look at the driver across from you. Now, is that a guarantee they're going to turn right? No, but it's an indicator they are. But when you're driving, think about being predictable for other drivers, because all of our goals are to do what? Get from point A to point B safely. Turn on your headlights. The Maryland law is very ambiguous. It says you have to turn on your headlights when color's not clearly discernible from more than 500 feet away. What the heck does that mean? Okay, so you're driving, well, I can see. So I don't need my headlights on. You're turning on your headlights for the other people so they can see it. How many people have a gray car? How many people drive like light gray cars and everything? Yeah, your cars blend in great at dusk to the roadway. You have what's called the same base reflectivity of the roadway. You ever wondered why you've seen sitting in your car parking lot, dragonflies come down your windshield and everything? Because your cars have the same base reflectivity as water. They think it's water, so they're going down to dip water or to try and lay eggs. You saw from the end thing, that's another one of my hobbies. Okay? So be predictable, drive defensively. Do not think that you can make it. Know you can make it. I think I can. Know you can make it. When I teach this as a police officer, I tell them don't drive like a cop. Okay, full disclosure here. I think some police officers drive like an idiot. Some of them drive and they are idiots, but some drive like idiots and they shouldn't. That's all there is to it. And so whether you consider this good or not, I have testified for and against officers in court on traffic crashes. If you're wrong, you're wrong. I don't care. So yes, some police officer bad drivers. How many of you in here are good drivers? Everybody is really a good driver, but you have these moments where something happens. And maybe you're not as good. Majority of the time, you get from point A to point B, fine. If you live to be 65, I'll be there in 4 years. The average person will have been involved in 2 crashes. Okay, and I'm not talking like a little backing into a tree in the driveway. I mean actual crashes, real crashes. You can't train for that. I can't train for you to avoid a crash. I can tell you these things. Police officers go through the EVOC training and everything, and I've argued with the defensive driving and evasive driving instructors that you're not teaching them how to avoid a crash. I can't teach you how to avoid a crash. I can teach you how to minimize your chances of being in a crash. I can teach you how to handle a vehicle to help you get out of situations. But I can't train you when the car runs a stop sign and hits you in the passenger side. Okay? So, driving is a full-time occupation. When you're behind that wheel driving, that is what you should be doing. Okay? You should not be eating. You should not be talking on the phone. And people who drive with me, some of them had to get used to this. When I'm driving and we're talking, I'm not looking at them. I'm watching the road. And you should be scanning. Who's training new drivers? Anybody? Okay. After new drivers will drive their vehicle. You're looking away. I saw that. New drivers will drive their vehicle and they will focus for a lot of the time about 9 feet in front of their bumper. Their bumper on the front. That's where they'll focus on because they're obsessed with that double yellow line. You know how to, it's a secret. I don't know if I should tell you. Know how to try and break through that habit after they had enough experience where they're kind of comfortable driving. You have them drive and I want you to tell me everything you see in front of me, in front of you. It makes them look up. Say, I see a mailbox, I see a tree, I see a car, I see a pickup truck. It makes them get out of that little focus zone and practice scanning. Because what you should do when you're driving is side view mirror, rear view mirror, side view mirror, speedometer. Not necessarily in that order. And even that, we talk about perception response time. That's about a second per maneuver. It's called dwell time. So between this one, and this one, that's 3 seconds, that's 4 seconds. Now come up with your own sequence. When you're at a stoplight and the light turns green, should you just hit the gas and pull out? Yeah, pause for a minute and make sure everybody's stopping. And if the person behind you beeps your horn, well, I don't care. Okay? Obey the traffic laws. What a concept. What an idea. Wait a minute. Hold on. It says stop. I'm supposed to act. That's not a suggestion. No, it's not a suggestion. For one thing, the sign's in red. Yeah, it's not a suggestion. Stop. And just 35 years as a police officer, you get pulled over by a police officer, don't argue with them because you're not going to win on the roadside. And I'll tell you a little secret. Okay, if you get pulled over by a police officer for something, I know a couple officers who don't do this, but 99% of the officers, when they get out of the car, have not decided if they're going to write you a ticket yet. They haven't. They really haven't. How can you? I know it's human nature. I'm sorry, police officers are human. Is the officer more apt to kind of give you a break if you're kind of friendly about it? Not like, hey, officer, how you do it? If you're, afternoon officer, and you don't have to say, when he says, do you know what I stopped for? You don't have to say for speeding. You have the right to not say that, but just at least be courteous. And that increases your chance of just getting a warning. That's just human nature. I gave that secret away. There you go. If you take anything away from it, that's it. Leave your ego at home. Okay? Leave your ego at home. There's no room for your ego in that car. Oh my gosh, that person passed me in a no passing zone. Okay. And I'm guilty of this. I'll maybe call them a name or something like that. But I don't speed up on their bumper, give them the finger, anything. And I'll tell you what, and we'll talk about this in a minute. But leave your ego at home. That's what it comes down to. Leave your ego at home. This is my next one. Let the baby have its bottle. Guy who passes you on the W. If baby's crying, they're hungry, what do you do? Give them their bottle, right? Guy passes you on double, let the baby have his bottle. If he blows a horn at you because he didn't, let the baby have his bottle. Okay? It's not worth it. We've all watched the news. It's just not worth it. Okay? And by the next day, and probably by the time you get to work, it's not going to matter. It may make you mad for a couple minutes, but you're not even going to think about it after a while. These are Frank's rules of the road. They're not unreasonable. They're not something we can't all do. Maybe take some practice. Okay, none of us are angels. Very few of us do 25 miles an hour on a back road and speed limit is 25. Let's not go nuts, okay? 26 maybe. Okay? Don't get complacent when you're driving. Because I've been driving on back roads around the curve, and there's that big old pickup truck on your side of the road. I have a motto: if you can't drive it, don't buy it. If you're going around, if you're in any vehicle, you're going around the curve and you have to do what's called apex that curve, cut across the WL line, you're going too fast. That's what it comes down to. You're going too fast, and you need to slow down. Yeah, we've talked perception reaction stuff, a whole nother class. Yeah, by the next day, you probably won't matter anymore. You won't care. You might go home and complain to someone, or every once in a while, what my friends call what grinds Frank's gears. Every once in a while, somebody gets to see that. My lovely and dear bride is usually the brunt of a lot of that. And you know what happened on the way? What now? What you say inside. On the outside, it's like, what? When? Here's my final thought. Then we'll take some questions if anybody has them and turn over. Traffic safety is simple. It really is. If the sign says stop, you stop. If the sign says yield, you yield. If the sign says speed limit 55, you drive 55 miles an hour. Driving is a full-time occupation, your primary job while on the road. Okay, here's the little statement that kind of got me, they kind of stopped sending me to a lot of these traffic safety things. There's nothing wrong with it, but in, your strategic highway safety, that's what we call it in Prince George's County, strategic highway safety plan, strategic roadway plan. And I was involved in that in Prince George's County and everything. So I know what you're going through. I really do. And I'm so sorry. And I'm glad I'm not doing it. Traffic crashes are things that we will not educate away, engineer away, or even enforce away. We're not going to. The only way that we'll make roads safe for everyone is if we obey the rules and drive responsibly, making it our full-time job while on the road. Self-driving cars are not going to do it. And at least in my lifetime, we're not going to see fully safe self-driving cars like you see in the movies or in what was the Minority Report, or for those of us who read Time Cop. So we're not going to see it. What's that? Okay. In my lifetime, I'm 61. My father lived to be 93. So you've got time. That fits. Thank you for doing the math. Oh, okay. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you about something about predictions. Every technological breakthrough is 10 to 15 years away. Flying cars were 10 to 15 years away. Okay. When they first came up with artificial intelligence, again, another class, general artificial intelligence was 10 to 15 years away. We're going to be living on Mars in 10 to 15 years. Everything is 10 to 15 years away. But again, an entirely different class. As you can tell, I got all kinds of subjects I can talk about. One more little exercise I want to do, and then a couple questions. Are we still good? Okay. This is an exercise I want to do, and I'm going to have a hard time. These are my calculators. Gee, why does Frank have two calculators? Because it's me. Thank you. You slide that in there. And you'll note, like on the back of this one, it says, yeah, BC. Yeah, that's business work computer. This is the one I kept at work. And the other one back says LP. It means left pocket. Yeah, I carried a calculator in my pockets at work because that's what I did. Okay, if you would do the same thing to that would be. And this is, for those of you who are old enough to remember that, I always bring it to these classes. Anybody know what this is? Oh, yeah. It's a slide rule. So when these things stop working, I have a slide rule. Okay. Hi. How are you? Doing good? Good. I'm not going to pick on you. No, sorry. Hi, how are you? He looked away. I'm going to pick on you. Okay. Now you have to follow these, and seriously, for this demonstration work, you have to follow my instructions specifically. Okay. Put out your left hand. Palm up. I'm not going to slap it. Okay. Hold that. Bring it up. Right there. I want you to concentrate on that calculator only, okay? Put your right hand down the same way. Keep looking at this one. Hold the calculator. Don't drop it. Not there. Okay. See, you looked at the other calculator. I saw you do that. Okay. Look at this calculator. All right. Only look at this calculator. Read that number for me.
2564525.
Okay. Keep looking at that calculator. Okay. Don't look at the other one. Tell me what the number is on the other one without looking at it. Okay. See how close they are? See what I'm getting at here? Can't even read the number. You're not blind. Okay. Here's what I want everyone to do. I want everyone to pretend that you just found a surprise quarter in your pocket. You can't do much with it unless you maybe get 3 more. But anyway, so pick up that pretend quarter. Hold it like that. Hold it at arm's length. Look at that quarter like it's the best thing you've ever seen. Maybe it's a gold quarter and it's worth a lot of money. And while you're thinking about this, change the subject. Right there, that is how much you can actually focus on at any one time. Okay? Now, your brain fools you. And it says, oh, everything's in focus. No, it's not. Only that's in focus. And you have this thing in your, and you glance around and everything, but you have this thing called natural nystagmus, your eye moves. You don't see it. You really see it if you're drunk. That's one of the ways we tell if people are impaired. And it does that so your eye doesn't fatigue and the rods and cones don't get overwhelmed with light signals, because light signals and nerve signals and everything. Let's screw with that. Okay? And open your eyes. And this is voluntary, but I'd like some people to try it. Take your fingers, index fingers, put them in the corner of your eye and kind of push in just a little bit. What's happening? No, push in. Things are getting blurry, maybe getting gray and going out. You've just defeated your natural nystagmus, so you're overstimulating the nerves in your retina, and they're just blanking out. That's why your eyes move, so that doesn't happen. So at any one time, going back to the distraction thing, that's as much as you can focus on. Keep that in mind, okay? I have all kinds of other cool demonstrations I could do. We don't have time because anybody have any questions? Come on. Somebody back there is thinking, yeah, I got to ask him that, but won't even make you talk in the microphone. This is the group participation part of the presentation, okay? Which would be a question. Yes. If we is defined as your mother and I, yes. Who else? Yes, thank you. You said you're bored? I'm sorry. Yes, it's not my board, so do with it what you want. I don't care. Take it home with you. Oh, okay. There's no eraser. That's very cavalier of you, because that may be a poisonous marker. We don't know. Here you go. This is new, right? Okay. Here, this is new. As far as you know, thank you. Okay. Uh-huh. Right. He does. He's already on the through roadway. Yeah, he's already on the roadway. Yeah, he's already on the roadway. If the vehicle lost that one. If the vehicle is already on the roadway, it is what's called the favored driver. Yes. Yeah, you're welcome. And that was a very good question. Anybody else? Yes. You can for about 15 minutes. Yeah. With caffeine. You can for about 15 minutes. The beautiful thing about sugared sodas is the sugar dumps into your bloodstream and wakes you up quickly for a couple minutes. enough time for the caffeine to kick in, and then like 15 minutes later, it just crashes out of your system. Yeah. And if you're driving while impaired, the only thing that's going to sober you up is time. As we say, if you drink a lot of, give a lot of caffeine to a drunk, what do you have? A wide awake drunk. Okay. If you put a drunk in a cold shower, what do you have? A pissed off, cold, wet drunk. Okay. Yeah. But no, my suggestion for you is if you're tired while driving, stop somewhere like Wawa, 7-Eleven, get out, walk around and get something to drink. But one of the ways we tell someone's tired while they're driving, and probably everybody's on those, they start doing stuff like this. They're trying to stimulate the nerves to wake them up. How can I tell if you're maybe on the cell phone texting at a stoplight? You're about 1.5 car lengths behind the vehicle in front of you. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Oh, come on. Yeah. Yeah, I'll be here. When actually I have like another slide real quick. Yeah, and it's just, this is the book I highly suggest you get. That's called Traffic, Amazon. How We Drive and Why We Drive. It's a great book. It answers a lot of questions, answers a lot of mine. It's just called Traffic, Tom Vanderbilt. Next slide. This is me. That's my email address. If anybody's interested, I'll take my show on the road, church groups, other groups, and give me a subject I'll talk about. I'll talk to, ask my family. I'll talk about everything. Yes. It's supposed to be Earthlink. Good catch. Thank you. There's no Erlink. Yeah, Earth, EARTH link. Thank you. Okay. If you want to load yours up. Is that PDF? Okay. It is slideshow. And mic drop. Thanks, sir.
So the library has available the MBA Rules of the Road and Rookie Driver manuals, and so we pulled them from the reference desk. If anybody's looking for them, they're in Spanish and English, so double check which one you're taking.
Thank you. Thank you, Frank. That was, yeah, please. This little snippet of information that I'm going to provide to y'all comes from a cycling safety class that I give. And it's interesting how many corollaries there were in head on a swivel. And it's the same thing, you're operating a vehicle. And I would like to reinforce one thing that, Frank was talking about, the driving 55 and following the laws. There is one of the things I do, I'm an outdoor guide, and we follow leave no trace principles. And one of the ways that we reinforce that is we say, what if everybody did that thing? How would it be? And what if nobody did that thing? How would it be? And think about that as you're driving 15 miles over the speed limit. What if everybody drove 15 miles over the speed limit? But what if everybody drove the speed limit? Think about that. I want to take just a minute and talk about vulnerable road users. I mentioned I'm an outdoor guide. One of the things that I do is I lead bike tours for a company out of Missoula, Montana. I've taken people from groups as small as 6 to as large as 300 up and down the East Coast in just about every state, as far west as the Grand Canyon, down into Texas and Louisiana. I've been with a lot of people on a lot of bikes, and I have seen bad things happen. And I have had friends that have had bad things happen, and they're no longer with us. And so I'm somewhat passionate about the subject of riding a bike safely. And typically what I'm doing is talking to a group of cyclists. This is a unique opportunity for me to talk to a group of drivers and maybe explain just at a 50,000 foot view why it is sometimes that we do the things that we do, because sometimes it doesn't really seem like we're doing what we should do. And hopefully I can explain to you a little bit about why we do. But vulnerable road users, when you get in your bubble of your car, it's how many thousands of pounds. There are a lot of other people out on the roads at the same time that aren't inside of a big metal bubble. Cyclists just being one group. There's also pedestrians, your runners, your walkers. You've got assisted mobility devices, people on scooters. That's how they get around. As well as our road construction workers. There's a lot of people out there, and opening your eyes and seeing them is the first step in making sure that we all make it home safe at the end of the day. Now, specifically with regard to cyclists, you have both recreational and fitness cyclists, those folks that are either savvy or novice, may not understand the rules of the road, maybe they do. You have commuters, you have children and families, you have kids in small communities that are out on their bikes to have a good time. Because guess what, folks? Bikes are fun. They really are. I can't tell you how many times I feel like a kid again sometimes when I'm out riding my bike. There is alternative transportation needs as well. Those folks who, for one reason or another, can't drive a car, they're out there on e-bikes. They have just a right to be there as well. Go ahead. I'll say when. I only have 4 slides. So when I'm talking to cyclists, these are the things that I go through as how you should be riding a bike. And the number one rule is if there is a shoulder, you're on it. And in our bike club, we're pretty stern with that. Many times we'll have somebody that either visits and they ride along with us for a weekend or on a group ride, and they will get told when they cross that white line that they should not be crossing that white line. If there is a shoulder, we are on it. That is number one. Visibility, lights, situational awareness, like Frank was talking about, head on a swivel. You're always looking around. You want to make sure that you know there's cars near you, other cyclists near you, other pedestrians near you, and riding defensively. We want to make sure that, yes, I may have the right of way in this specific instance, but I'm going to lose that battle with a 3,500-pound car or a truck. So I need to protect me and protect myself. That includes maintaining that buffer zone between myself and other cars. And I think that's a principle that they teach in driver's ed, is trying to maintain that buffer zone as I'm learning to drive, to make sure that I'm not right up next to or right beside another vehicle. Signaling to other road users, eye contact with drivers. Frank was talking about the tinted windows. I can't tell you the number of times that just being able, as I'm riding down a road, to be able to make eye contact with the driver of a vehicle, we see each other. I know that the driver sees me. The driver knows that I see them. We're in communication without ever having to do anything. But when the windows are tinted, can't see it, can't do it, can't make it happen. And using verbal communications, we talk to each other, we use hand signals, all of those things. Thank you. Back one. There we go. The technology that's current, that is in use by cyclists, and I encourage all of our cyclists to do this: lights, flashing steady, front and rear. Radar. How many folks knew there was radar you could put on your bike? Yeah, you can actually put a radar unit on the back of your bike. It'll give me a solid red light. When a vehicle enters 150 yards behind me, the light will start flashing. My computer on my head unit up on my handlebars will ding at me. It'll show me how far that car is behind me, how fast they're going. It's just so much information. Also cameras, running cameras on the front and the back of my bike. There's a tremendous amount of technology available to cyclists now. I can count at the end of a ride. I can look on my computer and tell you how many vehicles passed me. I can tell you how fast they were going when they passed me. I can put it on a map where they were when they passed me. And I can marry that information up to the camera feed coming off of my camera. No such thing as invisibility today. Everybody's accountable. Keep that in mind. Go ahead. This is a video that I took a piece out of. It's a Maryland State Police training video that talks specifically, the target audience of this is the state police officer and how they interpret laws. You could just hit, yeah.
Drivers of motor vehicles must exercise due care to avoid colliding when passing and must pass safely at a distance of not less than 3 feet from the bicycle. Slower vehicles generally stay to the right, but only as far to the right as is safe and reasonable, which is often called as far to the right as is practicable. At the extreme right are unsafe conditions: drain grates, debris, broken pavement, parked cars, pavement joints, and other hazards. A bicyclist is not required to ride to the extreme right of a road when it is unsafe to do so. Narrow lanes occur when a lane is too narrow to safely accommodate a car and a bicycle side by side. The cyclist who rides along the edge has less room to maneuver, is more likely to be forced off the road, more likely to drive into an obstruction, and more likely to be cut off by a turning motor vehicle. On such narrow roads, it may be safer for a bicyclist to take the lane and ride in the middle of the travel lane. When that occurs, motorists are required to wait behind the bicyclist until they can safely pass. The driver of a motor vehicle must yield right-of-way to a bicyclist in a designated bike lane or shoulder if the motor vehicle driver is about to enter or cross the designated bike lane or shoulder. Remember, there does not necessarily need to be contact between the motor vehicle and the bicyclist for a violation to have occurred, or for a motor vehicle driver to be found at fault if a bicyclist crashed as a result of an action taken by the motor vehicle driver. Driver may not honk horn on highway unless necessary to ensure safe operation. This means that motorists should not honk their horns to warn cyclists of their presence, but also covers aggressive motorists' attempt to frighten or scare bicyclists.
Can't tell you the number of times I have had what we call a punishment pass. Anybody can maybe figure out what that is? It's when that driver doesn't like the fact that I'm on the road. They're going to punish me. They blow their horn and they see how close they can get to me. Why? Why? It doesn't make any sense. Keep that in mind. One more slide. Let's talk about lane widths. And this is specifically, I threw this in here because I think it's telling for drivers of a vehicle. AASHTO is the highway organization that puts together sort of the Bible of road design. Lane widths vary depending upon the type of roads and its intended use. And most of what we have are rural and urban arterial lanes. Those lane widths average from 10 to 12 feet. We're going to do a little bit of simple math. The average American car in 2023 is 6'8" wide. That's not counting the mirrors. So let's call it 7 feet. The passing buffer required by Maryland law is 3 feet. The width of a cyclist on a bike is probably about 2 feet, and you give them a buffer of about 1 foot off of that curb because you don't want them riding in the edge of the pavement. You take the 7, the 3, the 2, and the 1, that's 13 feet or 12 feet and 8 inches. How wide is the lane? 10 to 12 feet. Simple math. You got to give them a little bit of room. You got to be a little patient. And that's what I would hope would happen. One more slide. These are the most common car-bike interactions. The first one on the top is the drive out. You'll see how it goes wrong on the top and how it goes right on the bottom. If the cyclist, remember I told you it's going to show you a little bit about why we do the things that we do. You wonder why we're in a lane sometimes. Because if I'm all the way over to the edge and some road engineer put a beautiful big bush on the corner, that car can't see me. Guess what though? Still the car's fault. Still the driver's fault if they pull out in front of me. But if I take a slightly more defensive, or what some people term aggressive driving position, move myself a little bit further out into the lane, improves the sight lines. It's all about sight lines. And we're going to talk that again. On the left cross, if I'm too far to the right and there's a car in front of me, they can't see me. If I increase my lane position, the car that's making the left-hand turn can actually see me. And that's why we do the things that we do. The right hook and the side swipe sort of go hand in hand. There are instances where you need to take a slightly more aggressive lane position, and the law states ride as far to the right as is practicable. Different word than practical. Practicable is how you can practice it, how you can safely practice what it is that you're doing. So if I take a slightly more aggressive lane position on the right hook, the car has to wait. This is the big one. This is the big one right here. If I am riding on the very right-hand edge of the roadway and that car thinks they've got enough room to pass me, but they're on a hill, on a rise, on a crest, on a curve going one way or the other, or put all of those pieces together, and all of a sudden a car pops over that hill or comes around that curve. You know who loses? Me. The cyclist is the one that loses. It's very dangerous out there. It's a dangerous sport, but it doesn't have to be. So I would encourage you to maybe kind of think about why cyclists position themselves in roadways the way that we do from time to time. You're not going to see it on Route 4 because what was the first thing I led with? If there's a shoulder, we're on it. So we don't want to be in your way. We don't want to be in the car's way. We want to minimize that interaction. But there's a lot of roadways in Calvert County where you have to go from one place to another. And I'll give you a perfect example is Ball Road. I rode Ball Road a lot. When I'm headed from Route 4 from Ball Road over to Brooms Island, about half of that roadway gives me a nice shoulder. Then it goes away and I have to be in the lane. I have no other choice. So hopefully that helps. Thank you, Frank, for bringing that. Yes, please. Yes. Mm-hmm. Sure. No. Great question. And it varies between the savvy, sort of more advanced cyclists who could be going anywhere from 20 to 25 miles an hour, especially if I'm going down a hill. That's not uncommon. In fact, it was the left cross that got my friend Greg. And he was going down a hill, probably doing about 25 miles an hour. Car thought they had plenty of room, pulled right in front of him. He went right over the back and didn't come back.
Going down the hill, I got my bike up to 42 miles.
Yeah. It's not uncommon.
Yeah.
It's not uncommon. Sure. Mhm. I would say if you're a bike, you could belong in the bike lane. If you're a car, you belong in the car lane. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. That's actually a very confusing bike lane. I think it's what they call a cycle path, where you're actually supposed to have traffic of a bike going on in the wrong direction. Yeah. Although it's another one of those points of debate. Points of debate. Yeah. Yeah. Anybody? Yeah.
You get
Yeah.
laughed at by the other officers. But yeah, you can't get tickets.
Yeah. Yes. I'm sorry. My name is Brian Rains. And to give you a little bit of credibility, I'm the president of Solomon's Island Cycling. I was at one point the president of Bike Maryland. Let's see, I have a cycling podcast that I do weekly. And I lead bike tours. Yes. Eesh. It is. It is, and um, I don't have an answer to that. I don't really have an. I wouldn't even venture a guess on how to answer that. It's one of the hardest things you can do as a cyclist is to have a close encounter or to know somebody who's have a close encounter and to get back out there. It's tough. It's tough. I don't know how you. I don't have an answer to that. I'm sorry. I don't. Yes. Yes. No. Under 16. You're under 16, you do. But I would encourage everybody, that's also, I took that slide out of here, but helmets, please, thank you. Make sure that they're not only, make sure that they're also up to date and you replace them every 3 to 4 years. Excellent. Yeah. I know in Maryland it's not. It's also, a lot of people get confused about this too. I've had some very aggressive encounters and people stop and get angry with me down on the island in Solomon's Island because they feel like the bike should be on the sidewalk. In Maryland, it is illegal for a bike to ride on a sidewalk, except in some instances with regard to some municipalities. But how in the world are you going to know that this little township decided it was okay for you to ride your bike on the sidewalk? I don't know.
Bicycle helmets are like seatbelt. There's no good reason to not wear a bicycle.
Yep.
They're light. They're pretty.
And the other thing that we do is you're talking about the invisible pedestrian. Now, not all cyclists are smart cyclists. A lot of them want to look cool in their Rafa kits that are all black. But I, for one, and I don't even match my stuff sometimes. It's a bright yellow this and a bright orange that and a bright blue here and a blue. It's contrast. It's contrast. I have a friend down in North Carolina about 10 years ago. He was run over by a truck, started a bike company where he started making socks. And the socks are all these crazy colors. He's the most colorful man in the world. But the whole thing was he started to look at motion and color and how it impacts the driver and what they see. And so he put all these pieces together, and now there's these crazy clashing colors that he's put out, and it works. It works. Yeah.
Well, what have you handed out the test yet? Yeah. Now, most of the laws, the states that have stuff like that are, if you're in the left lane, you have to be passing. Maryland is, in most states, left lane is the passing lane, and you can't stay in it. But Maryland has no such law. And what I tell, Maryland has no such law. And no, Maryland does not have a law that says left lane is for passing only. Correct. That is a principle. They call it maybe a courtesy. But what I tell people is speed limit is 55. Just because you're in the left lane doesn't mean you can go 70. Speed limit is still 55. Now, go back to the let the baby have his bottle. If the person is behind you and you're in the left lane and they're tailgating it, just move out of the way. It's not worth it. But no, Maryland does not have the left lane. It is only for passing. Texas, yes. Connecticut, yes. Maryland, Most of the people on the Judiciary Committee are attorneys, and they're defense attorneys. I will say no more.
Yes. So yeah, I had that. We talked about this before. A lot of times they will have construction on Route 4, and what do? They shut the entire shoulder down. So how I handle it is a lot like we were talking about how you come to a stop at a stop sign. Sometimes I will come right up to that construction. I will stop my bike. I'll turn it left so I can actually see what's coming in that lane because I've got to get into a lane on Route 4 to go around that construction. And there was a time last spring, it was probably about 300 or 400 feet. It was a brutal workaround. In fact, I wouldn't even go that route for a long period of time because of that. So just like we ask cars to have patience, sometimes cyclists have to have patience too, and just wait. And that's kind of how I approach it. I know a lot of folks that will look over the left shoulder, jump out in that lane and keep their momentum. And they look at it as that way. I'm not going to say one's better than the other, but I know that I know a car's not there when I do it.
Bicycle has to obey all the rules of the road.
Yep.
They're supposed to stop at stop signs, stop lights, yield, et cetera, et cetera.
But just like every police officer is not a good driver, not all the cyclists out there are good cyclists either. And that's just the way that it comes down, what it comes down to.
Yeah, well, I took notes and I thought this was really, really great. And what was that? Oh, I'm an occupational therapist and I've worked a lot with people who have had injuries and I've done a lot of assessments to have them get back on the road again and done a lot of treatment to help people so they can build up their reaction time, build up different exercises for depth perception, scanning, neck mobility, and all that. So we're going to do some things like that. So it'll be participating to build up your skills. And I have another person that's talking with me, and she's out there. And she's another occupational therapist, and she works at the hospital. And that's Tara. So, yeah. It'll be fun. So I'm looking forward to seeing you.
So interactive, I encourage you to sign up for that one too. And if there's other topics that we haven't covered that you hope we will, please let us know. Let me know. Great. Thank you again to Frank and Brian for good information today.
Everybody got my email address, the corrected one? You're interested? Earthlink. Somebody's doing Earthlink.